Welcome to Golden Aging Health. Have you ever noticed a simple red thread tied around the left wrist? At first glance, it seems ordinary, just an old tradition or superstition. Yet across cultures and centuries, this image carries mysteries that modern psychology is only beginning to explore. From the Chinese legend of the red thread of fate, to Jewish rituals at Rachel's tomb, to Hindu and Buddhist practices, this symbol has always been linked to protection, connection, and forces beyond our understanding. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst who gave the world the concept of the collective unconscious, saw in the red thread not a charm, but an archetype, a universal symbol reflecting the deepest human need for connection, guidance, and destiny. To him, it embodied the invisible ties that weave people together across time and space. Worn on the left wrist, it becomes more than an accessory. It opens a doorway into understanding symbols, the phenomenon of synchronicity, and the truth of predestined relationships that shape our growth. Jung believed this simple act could awaken us to the unseen threads guiding our lives. So if you have ever wondered whether coincidences are random or signs of something greater, stay with me. And before we dive deeper, do not forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and join me as we uncover the secret of the red thread on the left wrist. The symbolic meaning, the left wrist, and the color red. Why the left wrist? At first, it may seem like a random choice, but across cultures, this placement has never been accidental. The left side of the body has always been seen as the receptive side, the channel of intuition, dreams, and the unconscious. Modern neuroscience even supports this. The left hand is guided by the brain's right hemisphere, which governs creativity and symbolic thought. In Jungian psychology, this is the realm where invisible energies cross into visible life. The wrist itself adds another layer of symbolism. It is the bridge between the arm, symbol of strength and will, and the hand, symbol of action and creation. To tie a red thread here is to mark the very point where inner intention becomes outward reality. The wrist is also delicate and exposed. Choosing it as a sacred place is an act of trust, a declaration that one is ready to open their vulnerability to protection and transformation. The ancients believed that to protect the wrist was to shield both the heart and the spirit, making this choice deeply intentional rather than ornamental. Ancient traditions recognized this truth. In traditional Chinese medicine, the left wrist reveals the state of the heart, the organ tied to consciousness. Hindu teachings speak of subtle energy channels running through this spot, connecting human beings with higher realms. Jewish mysticism calls the left hand the receiving hand, the one that draws down divine blessing. Though their languages differ, each tradition points to the same mystery. The left wrist is a gateway to inner power and divine connection. The color red deepens this symbolism. For Jung, red was more than pigment. It was a psychic frequency, a vibration of life itself. Red is the color of blood, the current of survival, and of fire, the force of transformation. It is libido in its widest sense, the energy of creation, passion, and rebirth. Wearing red on the left wrist means carrying both the grounding power of blood and the ascending spark of fire. Science mirrors this insight. Red quickens the pulse, stimulates circulation, and heightens awareness. Psychologically, it awakens dormant feelings and calls the unconscious closer to the surface. Every time the wearer glimpses the thread, it acts as a reminder. Remain awake, remain intentional, remain connected to the unseen. In this way, the red thread becomes a daily ritual of mindfulness, a small yet powerful symbol that bridges body, psyche, and spirit. If the left wrist and the color red reveal why this symbol is so powerful, the deeper mystery lies in what the thread actually awakens: the invisible connections between souls and the uncanny synchronicities that seem to weave our destinies together. The red thread, invisible connection, and synchronicity. If the left wrist and the color red explain why this symbol holds such power, its deepest secret is found in the way it reveals hidden connections between souls. Jung himself became fascinated by this after encountering unusual cases among his patients. One of the most striking was a woman named Maria. She dreamed repeatedly of a red thread guiding her through a labyrinth, leading her to a man she had never met. In her dream, the thread pulsed with life, binding their left wrists together. Days later, Maria met this very man in a cafe. Down to the scar above his eyebrow she had seen in her dream. Even more mysterious, he confessed that he too had been dreaming of her. Stories like this led Jung to speak of synchronicity, what he described as meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by ordinary cause and effect. The red thread seems to act as a kind of antenna, amplifying the psyche's sensitivity to these mysterious alignments. When worn with intention, it created a state where the unconscious could guide outer events, drawing the right people and situations into one's life. Jung suggested that the thread does not create the connection, but awakens our perception of patterns already at work, allowing us to step into the flow of destiny rather than resist it. Another patient, Heinrich, tied a red thread to his wrist after a series of failures left him hopeless. Within months, he encountered strangers who not only seemed to know his story, but also carried the exact resources and skills he needed to rebuild his life. Many of them reported dreams of red threads that drew them to meet him. Jung noted how these patterns defied logic, as if an unseen intelligence was weaving their paths together, creating an intricate design far larger than any single individual. The thread, in this sense, functions as more than decoration. It is a symbol that programs the unconscious mind to notice signs, follow intuitions, and remain open to encounters charged with meaning. What might otherwise seem like chance begins to feel like destiny. And when many people wear the thread within a community, its power multiplies. Jung observed that synchronicities often ripple outward, linking not just two individuals, but entire groups, creating a living web of connection and purpose that feels guided, intentional, almost sacred. Have you ever experienced a coincidence so perfect it felt like destiny guiding you? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how the invisible thread may have touched your life. Because the real question is this: if a simple red thread can draw us toward mysterious encounters, what happens when we discover that these connections are not random at all, but part of a larger design hidden in the collective unconscious? The collective unconscious and predestined relationships. Across cultures that never touched each other, the red thread appears again and again, as if whispered into the human soul from a source older than history. In Jewish mysticism, pilgrims wound red strings around Rachel's tomb, carrying them home as protection. In China, the legend of the red thread of fate describes an invisible cord binding those destined to meet. In Hindu and Buddhist practice, sacred red threads are tied around the wrist as reminders of spiritual connection.
Among Native American tribes, strands of red appeared in dream catchers and talismans, symbolizing the life force that unites all beings. For Jung, this universality was no coincidence. It was proof of the collective unconscious, the shared reservoir of archetypes that transcend culture and time. The red thread, wherever it appeared, carried the same core meaning: protection, connection, and destiny. It was humanity's way of remembering that we are woven into something larger than ourselves, a vast design whose threads extend beyond what the eye can see. Jung believed such symbols rise from deep within us because they serve essential roles in our growth, calling us back to truths we already know but often forget. But the red thread also points toward what Jung called predestined relationships. These are not always romantic. They may arrive as a teacher who unlocks hidden gifts, a collaborator whose strengths complete your weaknesses, or a companion who helps you heal old wounds. Encounters like these are often marked by instant recognition, vivid dreams, or a sense that you have known the person forever. Such connections stir both joy and challenge, awakening hidden aspects of the self, the shadow that longs to be integrated. Not every connection is permanent. Some are lessons in relationships, teaching us truths we could not learn alone. Others are healing relationships, where two souls mend together. Still others are creative partnerships, producing art or ideas that neither could achieve alone. And then, rarely, there are completion relationships, soulmates destined to share the long road of life. Jung even spoke of soul families, groups of kindred spirits drawn back together across lifetimes by a shared mission, weaving the same pattern again and again until their purpose is fulfilled. To meet such a person is to glimpse the deeper design of existence. The red thread on the left wrist does not create these bonds, but it makes them visible. It reminds us that those who enter our lives may not be accidents at all, but mirrors, guides, and companions carefully placed on our path by an unseen intelligence.
The red thread on the left wrist is not simply a tradition. It is a symbol of the invisible connections that bind us to one another and a reminder of the journey toward wholeness. For Jung, it represented the bridge between what is hidden and what is seen, between unconscious wisdom and conscious life. It is a small, physical act that opens a vast inner doorway, reminding us that we live within a world of symbols that speak louder than words. Each of us may already feel its pull. Sometimes it whispers through a gentle intuition, nudging us toward a choice we cannot explain. Other times it arrives as a powerful encounter, a meeting that changes our path forever. These are not accidents. They are threads of destiny, weaving us toward the people, lessons, and healing we need most. To notice them is to awaken to the deeper design that quietly shapes our lives. To wear the red thread is to say yes to protection, to synchronicity, to the mystery that life offers. It is an invitation to see meaning where others see chance, to live with a heart attuned to patterns unfolding in both seen and unseen realms. It is a reminder that even in our most isolated moments, we are never truly alone. We are part of a living web of consciousness that stretches across cultures, centuries, and souls. So I invite you now to pause and reflect. What invisible threads may already be shaping your story? Who have you met that felt destined, and what encounters still wait on the horizon? Trust that the red thread is not only tied around the wrist, it is woven through the very fabric of your being, guiding you toward the purpose your soul has been seeking all along. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who may need it, and subscribing for more insights into the mysteries of life. Thank you for watching. Stay open to the unseen threads that guide you.